Welcome back to the GH Spoilers channel, where today we will dive deep into one of the most thrilling and dangerous plotlines currently unfolding on General Hospital. Ava Jerome has always been a formidable woman, but her latest schemes to gain power and money have reached a new level of ruthlessness. What began as a fight for control over her own life has turned into a complex game of manipulation, and now, it's a game that could cost Christina Corinthos, Alexis Davis, and even Ava herself everything. Ava's first major victory was securing the money that was rightfully hers after a strategic marriage to Nicholas Cassadine. The money had been kept in trust by Alexis Davis, the respected lawyer and mother of Christina. But for Ava, this wasn't enough. She wanted more. Always craving control, always thirsty for power, Ava set her sights on Christina, whose recent reckless actions had given Ava the perfect opportunity to press her advantage. Christina, in a series of unfortunate mistakes, had been responsible for sabotaging Ava's car. While Christina's original intention had been to harm Ava, she inadvertently caused a horrific accident that left Lucky Spencer and Rick Lansing seriously injured. If the police were to uncover the truth behind Christina's actions, she would undoubtedly face serious legal repercussions, potentially even jail time. This is where Ava saw an opening, a chance to not only profit from the chaos but to hold Christina's future in her hands. Ava, ever the manipulator, immediately began to leverage this new information. Knowing that Alexis, as Christina's mother, would do anything to protect her daughter, Ava set her terms. She demanded $1 million from Alexis as compensation for the potential damage Christina had caused. Ava made it clear that unless Alexis met her demands, Christina's life would be ruined. She would end up in prison. The stakes couldn't be higher, and Alexis found herself caught in a corner, unable to refuse. But as always, Alexis wasn't going to take this threat lying down. She may have been pushed into a position where she had to make a difficult decision, but she was a mother, strong-willed and willing to protect her family at all costs. Alexis knew that Ava's greed would not end with $1 million. Once Ava got her hands on the money, she would use the secret about Christina's crime to continue manipulating Alexis, perhaps forever. The prospect of living under the constant threat of blackmail was unacceptable to Alexis. In a fit of desperation and fury, Alexis concocted a bold and dangerous plan to eliminate Ava's hold over her family once and for all. Alexis, using her legal expertise and knowledge of the situation, decided to drug Ava. She slipped a powerful sedative into Ava's drink, making sure that Ava would be completely unaware of what had been done to her. Once the drug took effect, Alexis knew that Ava would be left vulnerable, unable to fight back or make any rational decisions. With Ava in an altered state, Alexis watched as she unwittingly got into her car and began to drive. What was supposed to be a simple, temporary solution to eliminate Ava's ability to cause more trouble quickly spiraled into a nightmare. The drug had clouded Ava's mind, and her disoriented state behind the wheel led to a catastrophic car accident. Ava crashed her car in a violent wreck, the aftermath leaving her critically injured and unconscious. She was rushed to the hospital in a life-threatening condition, with doctors and nurses scrambling to save her life. Meanwhile, Alexis, feeling a mix of guilt, fear, and relief, paced in the shadows, praying that Ava would not survive. Alexis knew the risks of what she had done. Her plan had been rash, dangerous, and could potentially backfire on her in ways she couldn't even imagine. But at that moment, she didn't care. The thought of Ava's manipulative grip on her family and Christina's future finally being loosened was too much to resist. As Ava lay in a coma, fighting for her life in the hospital, Alexis wrestled with her emotions. She had committed an unforgivable act, and while she prayed for Ava's demise, she also couldn't escape the weight of what she had done. She had crossed a line, and now she had to live with the consequences, whatever they may be. The fact that she had chosen to drug and indirectly cause Ava's accident weighed heavily on Alexis. But her maternal instincts had overridden her usual sense of moral judgment, and in that moment, she believed she had no choice. As Ava's condition remained critical, everyone in Port Charles was left in the dark about the true cause of the accident. The police were investigating, but they had no reason to suspect foul play, and Alexis was doing her best to keep her involvement hidden. The only person who knew the truth was Alexis herself, and she was desperate to keep it that way. The last thing she needed was for her secret to be exposed, especially with Christina already in danger. But Ava wasn't the type to go down without a fight. Despite her unconscious state, Ava's influence loomed large over the town, and it wouldn't be long before the people of Port Charles started asking questions. Alexis knew that her actions would have far-reaching consequences, and while she had managed to temporarily escape the threat of Ava's blackmail, she had no idea what the future would hold. Christina, still unaware of the full extent of her mother's actions, would likely find herself caught in the crossfire as the story continued to unfold. Alexis had done what she thought was necessary to protect her daughter, but in doing so, she had put herself and her family in greater danger. As Ava's life hung in the balance, Alexis had to wonder if she had made a mistake. If her desire to protect Christina had led her down a path that was far darker than she ever could have imagined. The drama surrounding Ava's accident was far from over. The crash would have ripple effects across Port Charles, drawing in both familiar and new characters who would get swept up in the aftermath. Would Ava survive? And if she did, would she seek revenge on Alexis for what she had done? Or would the truth about Christina's crime finally come to light, making everything Alexis had done to protect her family meaningless? As Alexis prepared herself for whatever was to come, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something much more complicated and dangerous. Her actions had set a series of events in motion that could tear her family apart, and as Ava fought for her life, Alexis couldn't help but wonder whether she had just made the worst mistake of her life. Next, we will learn about the troubling dynamics unfolding between Drew Quartermaine and Willow Corinthos that could lead to a dangerous power struggle. The looming threat of Drew's true intentions. Will Willow be able to unravel Drew's hold before it's too late? This question hangs heavily in the air as tensions escalate in Port Charles. Drew Quartermaine's seemingly benevolent facade may be cracking, revealing glimpses of a calculated manipulator beneath. Observers close to the situation have noted subtle changes in his demeanor when he believes no one is watching, the coldness in his eyes that contradicts his warm public persona. The guardianship agreement, initially presented as mutual protection for their blended family, increasingly resembles a cleverly disguised power play. Legal experts consulted on similar cases suggest that such arrangements can become nearly impossible to dissolve without substantial evidence of misconduct. Willow's growing suspicions place her in an untenable position: remain silent and potentially lose control of her children's future, or confront Drew and risk triggering the very scenario she fears most. Several Port Charles residents have privately expressed concern about the speed with which Drew maneuvered himself into this position of authority. "It's textbook isolation tactics," remarked one family counselor familiar with similar situations. "Remove someone from their support system, position yourself as their only ally, then gradually assume control of major decisions." The custody battle on the horizon. Michael Corinthos' impending return from Germany casts a long shadow over this precarious arrangement. Sources close to the burn clinic report his recovery is progressing faster than expected, potentially accelerating his homecoming. The revelation of Willow's living situation with Drew will undoubtedly spark a fierce custody battle over Wiley and Amelia. The legal landscape for such disputes in Port Charles has historically favored biological parents, but Drew's guardianship papers introduce a complicated variable. Family court judges tend to prioritize stability for children, and Drew could argue that disrupting their current living arrangement would cause unnecessary trauma. His business connections and financial resources provide him significant advantages in protracted legal proceedings. Diane Miller, renowned for her discretion and legal acumen, has reportedly cleared her schedule for an unnamed client in the coming weeks. Speculation suggests Willow may have already initiated confidential consultations regarding her options. Miller's expertise in family law makes her the ideal advocate for navigating this treacherous situation without alerting Drew to Willow's intentions. Carly and Nina's unlikely alliance. In an unexpected development, longtime adversaries Carly Spencer and Nina Reeves find themselves united by their shared concern for Willow. Their warnings, initially dismissed as jealousy or overprotection, now seem prophetic as Drew's behavior raises red flags. Insiders report clandestine meetings between the two women, strategizing how to support Willow without triggering Drew's suspicions. Carly's earlier threat regarding the children, once perceived as cruel manipulation, may have been a desperate attempt to prevent exactly this scenario. Her intimate knowledge of the Quartermain family dynamics, having been married to Jason, Drew's twin, gives her unique insight into potential patterns of behavior. Nina, despite her complicated history with Willow, possesses a mother's intuition that something is fundamentally wrong with Drew's sudden devotion. Their unlikely partnership represents a powerful potential resource for Willow, should she choose to accept their help. Together, they could provide both emotional support and practical assistance in documenting any concerning behavior from Drew without raising his suspicions. The psychological chess match. Willow now finds herself engaged in a dangerous psychological chess match, forced to maintain a convincing facade of contentment while secretly planning her escape. Mental health professionals note that such situations create extreme psychological strain, as the constant vigilance required to avoid revealing one's true thoughts is exhausting and traumatic. Drew's military background and business acumen make him a formidable opponent in this unspoken battle of wits. His training likely includes detecting deception, making Willow's performance all the more crucial. Any slip, a hesitation before answering, an inconsistent story, a guarded reaction to his touch, could alert him that something has changed. The vague text message about securing their future represents just one potential clue to his true agenda. Behavioral analysts suggest watching for other warning signs, increased monitoring of her whereabouts, subtle criticism of her parenting decisions, or attempts to control financial resources. These could indicate an acceleration of his control tactics. Scout's uncertain future. Lost somewhat in this developing drama is the fate of Scout Quartermain, Drew's daughter with Sam McCall. The reciprocal guardianship arrangement places Willow in a position of responsibility for Scout, creating another layer of complexity. Willow's genuine affection for the child makes the situation even more heartbreaking, as any move to protect her biological children potentially impacts her relationship with Scout. Child psychologists emphasize that children often sense tension between adults long before any explicit conflict emerges. Scout's recent withdrawn behavior at school, noted by her teachers, may indicate she's already detecting undercurrents of stress in the household. This places additional pressure on Willow to resolve the situation without traumatizing any of the children involved. Sam McCall's reaction to this arrangement remains unclear. Her history with Drew suggests she might become a valuable ally for Willow, particularly given her investigative skills and connections through Aurora Media. However, approaching Sam carries its own risks, as her unpredictable loyalty might lead her to alert Drew to Willow's concerns. Michael's recovery and return. Meanwhile, in Germany, Michael Corinthos continues his recovery from severe burns, unaware of the precarious situation developing with his children. Medical sources report his treatment involves innovative skin grafting techniques pioneered by European specialists, with physical therapy sessions now incorporated into his daily routine. His isolation from Port Charles news may be a blessing in disguise, allowing him to focus entirely on healing. However, the emotional shock awaiting him upon return could potentially compromise his recovery. Friends close to Michael describe him as devastated by Willow's decision to leave during his vulnerable state, but determined to reunite with his children regardless of personal cost. The timing of his return becomes increasingly critical. Too soon, and he may lack the physical strength for the inevitable confrontation with Drew. too late, and Drew's position with the children may become further entrenched. This delicate balance adds another layer of tension to an already volatile situation. The legal labyrinth. Unraveling the guardianship agreement presents a formidable legal challenge. Such documents, when properly executed, create binding obligations that courts hesitate to dissolve without compelling evidence of misconduct or fraud. Willow's signature, freely given, at least in the legal sense, established a presumption of consent that will be difficult to overcome. Legal experts suggest several potential strategies, claiming emotional duress at the time of signing, documenting any pattern of controlling behavior that might constitute coercion, or demonstrating that Drew misrepresented his intentions. Each approach carries significant risks and requires substantial evidence that may be difficult to gather without alerting Drew. The involvement of Diane Miller could prove decisive. Her reputation and connections within the Port Charles legal community provide advantages that few other attorneys could match. Her history of creative legal solutions in seemingly impossible situations offers a glimmer of hope in what otherwise appears to be an impenetrable legal trap. As this situation continues to unfold, viewers are left wondering: was Drew's pursuit of Willow genuinely motivated by love, or was it always about creating a ready-made family under his complete control? The answer may determine not just Willow's future, but the fate of 3 innocent children caught in this web of manipulation and power. Next, we will learn about the intriguing possibility of a soap opera star potentially making a dramatic leap from the fictional world of Port Charles to the very real corridors of Washington, D.C. The entertainment and political landscapes might soon experience an unprecedented crossover that few could have anticipated. From entertainment to politics, the unexpected journey. The boundaries between entertainment and politics have increasingly blurred in recent years, with celebrities leveraging their public platforms to voice opinions on pressing social issues. This phenomenon has now reached the beloved soap opera General Hospital, where one recurring cast member has sparked nationwide speculation about presidential ambitions. Stephen A. Smith, known to millions of viewers as Brick, Sonny Corinthos' formidable West Coast enforcer since 2016, has become the center of political conversation. His potential transition from fictional enforcer to real-world leader represents a fascinating evolution in American political culture, where entertainment figures increasingly find pathways to political relevance. The groundswell of support. What began as casual social media chatter has evolved into serious consideration, with Smith acknowledging the groundswell of support urging him toward a 2028 presidential bid. The journey hasn't been straightforward. February saw him tentatively entertaining the possibility, while March brought a denial from his representation. However, recent developments suggest the pendulum has swung back toward political consideration. The outpouring of encouragement has been both humbling and thought-provoking, Smith reportedly shared with close associates. When people from diverse backgrounds and political perspectives unite in suggesting you might offer something valuable to the national conversation, it becomes difficult to dismiss outright. A pivotal television appearance. The speculation reached new heights following Smith's appearance on ABC's This Week with Jonathan Karl on Sunday, April 13. During this high-profile interview, the multifaceted personality, who balances roles as both a soap opera actor and ESPN sports commentator, articulated his evolving perspective on a potential political future. "I find myself in an unexpected position," Smith explained during the broadcast. "What began as distant speculation has transformed into something requiring genuine consideration." The interview marked a significant shift in his public stance, suggesting that what once seemed improbable now exists within the realm of possibility. Influential voices behind the scenes. Perhaps most compelling about Smith's potential candidacy is the caliber of individuals reportedly encouraging his political aspirations. The support extends far beyond casual fans or social media enthusiasts, explained a source close to Smith. "We're talking about established political figures, thought leaders, and individuals with significant influence in American public life. Smith himself acknowledged this reality during his recent television appearance, noting, "I feel I have no option because I've had elected officials approach me, and I won't disclose their names." This revelation suggests his potential candidacy has garnered attention from serious political operators who see viable pathways to success. Spiritual dimensions and personal reflection. Adding another layer to this evolving narrative is the spiritual dimension Smith referenced during recent conversations. "The truth is, people have approached me, even my own pastor, who told me, 'You don't know what God has in store for you,'" he shared, introducing a perspective that transcends conventional political calculus. This spiritual framing suggests Smith views the possibility through a lens that extends beyond personal ambition or political strategy. Instead, he appears to be wrestling with questions of purpose, calling, and responsibility, considerations that often characterize the most thoughtful political figures throughout American history. Learning from Port Charles politics. Interestingly, Smith's character Brick exists adjacent to Port Charles's fictional political landscape, which currently features three prominent figures navigating complex power dynamics: Mayor Laura Collins, Congressman Drew Kane, and Councilman Ezra Boyle. This triumvirate currently competes for valuable waterfront property owned by Sonny Corinthos, creating a narrative backdrop that mirrors real-world political maneuvering.